That's a big boot! That meme that you guys just saw is really how I feel about Paradox Rift. It's really overshadowed by a lot of recent sets, both Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet, and it's kind of sitting on the back burner, and its price reflects that. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing. That just means you can get a great entry point on this booster box. So today we're going to be checking out the pros and cons of investing in Paradox Rift within the next, 2 to 3 months is the timeline we'll look at. So without further ado, I'm Jack, this is JBTCG, and let's get into it. So what we're going to look at first is the trend of the booster box itself. So as you can see on TCG Player, that the box started right around $100, kind of dipped down after release, and kind of settled middle to low 90s. And that's kind of where it is now, settling at 98. It's selling daily, $98, $99. If you have TikTok Shop and you get those coupons and discounts off there, you can get this for $80, $85 easily, especially when they're doing sales. But if you just want to buy it off TCG Player, eBay, whatever, this is the price you're going to pay. In the grand scheme of things, a $98 booster box is super cheap. Like, MSRP for these boxes for Scarlet and Violet is $163. So this box is over $60 below MSRP. That's an amazing entry point, regardless of the set. Now let's look at the timeline of the box. Generally, the cheapest a box gets is like 8 months to a year after its release. When the hype has died down, people are focused on other sets and supply is still abundant. So we can kind of see it's not quite in that 12-month period. It was released in November and now it's May, but it's getting close. And we're looking to pick these boxes up over the next 2 to 3 months, so this timeline works. As a first pro, I'd say this is just a great entry point. Simple as that. Pretty cheap, way below MSRP, and I don't see it getting way cheaper than this. Maybe the boxes dip into the 80s again, but is it really going to matter when boxes are $200, $250, whether you bought it at 80 or 90? Not really, unless you're buying an astronomical amount of them. But to the average person, you and me, buying, 2, 3 boxes of this set, it's not going to matter too much. So, easy pro, good entry point. Next, we'll look at the set, which unfortunately I think is a con. The top chase card in the set right now is the Roaring Moon, and it's sitting at $60, which is below the cost of a booster box. Even if you pull the top chase card of the set in one booster box, that won't pay for the cost of it. The next most expensive card, outside of any promos or anything like that, is the Groudon, which is an illustration rare at $34. There's only one card over $50 in this set, and there's only 4 cards over $30 in this set. That's pretty poor in terms of value from packs. Although there are some decent cards in this set, I think the overall value of the cards inside the packs that you're opening aren't quite up to par for Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield. So that's just going to be my first con. So I'm going to add another con for the Roaring Moon EX. Now, it's not a bad card itself, but as the top chase card in the set, it isn't holding value. And this is a little bit different than my first con, being that the overall value of the set is low. I'm just talking about the single top chase card. So every set doesn't have to have a huge chase card, but when you're looking at investing, it kind of helps, especially when you're looking at that long-term kind of like grail factor for your booster box. The main reason that Lost Origin has shot up in the way that it has is because of that huge chase, that Giratina and Aerodactyl card. Both of those are extremely valuable and they command a chase. This Roaring Moon doesn't command a chase, it's a $60 card. Now, I'm not saying that's super cheap or anything, but for a top chase card in a set, it is fairly cheap. And I think that will hinder people opening it as time goes on. There will be no itch to open the box, essentially. When you have a Lost Origin booster box, you look at it every single day, you're like, oh, there could be a Giratina in there. Now there very well probably isn't, but it's that could be. With this, you're like, oh, there could be a Roaring Moon in there, but it's like, well, does that really, do I need that Roaring Moon like I need that Giratina? No, not really. So I'm going to add that to the cons list. Now for another pro. The sealed booster box case is extremely cheap. You can get it for $534 on eBay. That's super cheap. There's zero premium getting a case versus a single box. Normally, as a set gets more popular or it's out of print and more people are buying it, investing in it, all that stuff, and it's shooting up in price, the sealed case itself has a premium over a single booster box. This isn't the case for Paradox Rift. You can pick up a single booster or a case. And honestly, usually the booster box case has a cheaper cost per box than buying an individual booster box. So if you're looking to go big into Paradox Rift, this is super great. You can get this sealed case, get a ton of product. It's in that extra layer of packaging. You know it's legit for a great deal. So that's going to be my second pro for Paradox Rift here. So we're tied up, we're even. I have 2 pros, 2 cons. It depends on how you value both of these, obviously, but I'm going to put in one more that could be a pro, could be a con. Now, because these booster boxes are so cheap, it is unlikely that they'll get reprinted in a meaningful way. So my reasoning behind saying this, the Pokemon Company is in the business to make money. If a booster box is already selling way below MSRP, it's not showing any sign of shooting up to that MSRP number or needing of them to print more to reach the demand of the consumers. It's steadily at $80 to $100. There's no reason for them to just flood the market with more. So I don't think it's super likely that Paradox Rift will get a big reprint or even maybe a reprint at all. I mean, there could come a reprint, but I don't think it's going to be something insane like we saw with Crown Zenith, where it was $60, $70 in ETB and it crashed down to 30. I don't see that happening because the prices are already pretty bottomed out as they are. But the reason that I caution this and I say it's kind of a pro/con is if it does get a reprint, it's going to be pretty hard for this box to gain any momentum moving forward. It'll be kind of like Vivid Voltage or Battle Styles, where it's kind of just, it's moving up slowly. Battle Styles is, I don't know, creeping up to 130, 140, and Vivid Voltage is, I think it's at 140, 150. But it's been so long since they've been released that the actual investment itself wasn't that great. So I do fear that Paradox Rift could fall into the category of Battle Styles and Vivid Voltage. I sure hope it doesn't, but that is a very real possibility. So that's going to have to be another kind of con for this set, is that it could end up pretty much like Vivid Voltage and Battle Styles. Now, on the flip side, it could end up like Chilling Reign. It's just going to be how people feel about this set, how people feel about the cards in it, the Iron Valiant, the Roaring Moon, that Groudon EX. I think people are really going to love that one for years to come, but one card can't carry a set like that, especially if it's an illustration rare. So those are my pros and cons. I think it's not a bad investment. I'm probably going to pick up a few boxes over the coming months. It's not going to be my #1 priority or anything, but I think the entry point for it is so good that it's kind of hard not to, in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think, or let me know if you think I missed anything in my pros and cons list. And I appreciate everyone who votes on the polls for my content ideas. It kind of guides me in a content direction so I can make content that you guys find interesting and I also find interesting. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys watching, and stay safe out there.